Today on Real Pilates, we'll continue talking about the spine. So we know the spine, thoracic, cervical, right? Thoracic and lumbar. But the spine is a series of curves. As you know, the circle is the strongest shape because if I push down on the top of this circle, the pressure disperses around the circle. So on the top of the circle, if I push with 10 pounds, that 10 pounds disperses around the whole circumference of the circle. But if I have a straight, flat surface and I push 10 pounds down on that spot of that flat surface, that whole 10 pounds is on that spot. And that spot can snap more easily than if the pressure is on a circle or an arch or a curve. So understanding that, let's just look at the neck. If your neck has the corrective arch for your neck, then the weight of my bowling ball head, and that's a lot of weight to hold up all day long, is going to be dispersed evenly from the top cervical to the bottom cervical and then further on down the spine, of course. But it's not going to be more pressure on cervical 3 than on 2. It's going to be equally dispersed. So the whole weight of that head is going to run through all the cervicals equally down to the thoracic, through to the lumbar. You see what I'm saying? All that weight is not going to be pushing on 1 or 2 cervicals of the neck only. If you have an absence of curves, it's called either flat neck, no curve, and that really stresses the cervicals. Forward neck is when your head is in front of the other spine bones, and that puts a lot of strain on a certain number of cervicals. Then there's back neck, that your head is jammed further back, and that puts stress on a different set of cervicals. So without going into what causes stress in what cervical, because you don't need to know all of that, you need to know that it is super important that you always use a pillow that has an arch for your neck. Here's a beautiful pillow that it's nice and pliable, and as I lay on it, it's gonna give me the arch. The pillow goes on the neck, never on the head. And it's super important that you use that pillow so that when you're laying down, your chin is lifted from your chest and you have an arch. You may roll up a towel. In the beginning, it may be uncomfortable. So you start with a smaller pillow, you start with less, and then you graduate up so that, as we've done before, and you take the stick and you put it on your chair, and then the stick is against your spine. When you're seated, the stick touches the tip of your butt and your head when you're seated, so that you know that you have just the right level of arch. And of course, the stick doesn't touch the back of the neck because that's where your arch is. So that same idea of the neck arch portrays now into the thoracic arch, because you should have a nice slope of the thoracic. And then the most important one, or as important, is that lumbar, that low back arch. So here's the hard part of what I'm going to tell you. You know how a circle is 360 degrees, half of the circle is half of that 180. Half of 180 is 90, which gives you a quarter of the pizza. And then as you keep cutting the pizza, an eighth is now half of 45, and so on and so on. So that's how you get an angle of degrees of how much arch you have. There is no exact degree number for arches anywhere on the spine that are clinically written that you're supposed to have. What does that mean? That means that the amount of arch you have on your neck can be 6 degrees, 8 degrees, 10 degrees. It's whatever amount of arch for that neck. It's whatever amount of arch for that thoracic or lumbar spine. And I know that now that just makes you nuts. There is a way to anatomically see whether you're aligned and whether you have what we call the bone stacked well. We're going to cover that this month. This whole month we're talking about that. So you can always go back, because we put them all together in one short thing at the end of the month, so you can look at all the tips and not have to do every class. But you should. No, I'm joking. So Every spine is different. Don't compare yourself with someone else. There are people with longer necks and that have, let's say, more narrow shoulders or broader shoulders where their neck is less. There are people that have very, very long thoracic and they have shorter lumbar. There's all different what are called ratios out there. We're like snowflakes and it's amazing. There are no two bodies alike. And this is the importance that you train with a master trainer, because when I give you the cues, it's done in a way that every body type will benefit. There is no rule to say if you have too much of an arch on the lumbar, do this, do this, do this. That's not how that is. It needs to be a series of movements designed specifically for your lumbar. And I will tell you, when you move your leg, your back needs to be down on the mat, up on the mat. When you turn, make sure your head moves, make sure your head doesn't move. And I give you the cues so that you are moving in the best range for your series of arches, of which there is no other exactly like you. There is good posture, there is bad posture. We're going to go into that. There is perfect alignment and less perfect alignment, which puts more compression on discs and less. Our goal is to have less compression, less friction that is on the bones and joints. And we do that in all the classes, and the fly is here listening. It's the fly on the wall. So it's just important for you to always listen to the cues and follow best as you can. And if you don't understand something, you have that app within our website that you can always send me a message and ask me. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm here 6 days a week for you, and I'm here for any questions or issues you have. This is Pilates Master Nikki, my beautiful single spine snowflake that I adore. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of real Pilates.